When Italy makes a vehicle, my head goes to style, maybe some panache, something that's fast and possibly red, like my shirt. But what happens when they make a sailboat? Today we're going to find out because we're on a 35-footer that happens to somehow have 3 cabins, a fold-down swim platform, and 2 helms, very inboard jib tracks, and a mainsheet traveler in full single-handed race position. My friend Noel does the Chicago to Mac race every year in the solo class on his Olsen 30. That's the biggest freshwater race in the world, taking usually some 30 hours to complete, and he completes it single-handed. Stepping into this boat made me think of Noel right away, picturing him working the Traveler with one hand, the other hand on the wheel. This boat is made by Viko Yachts, and while it may have been an Italian design, they build them in Poland. Their website claims almost 30 years experience in boat design and that they toil in a lot of industries from sailing yachts to motorboats, emergency equipment, steel construction, and wind energy. While this boat model is the S35, the length with the bowsprit is actually a few inches short of 40 feet, which puts it in the hottest sailboat market there is, with lots of competition. The first thing that caught our eye was the space-taking up block of fiberglass immediately at the entry.
The purpose of that is so that you don't have a hole to step in.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, okay. That's all it is. It's not really the story.
Why not just make the cockpit sole extend that far then?
It has about everything we could put on it. Okay, bow thrusters, all the electronics, all of the 2 air conditioners. I mean, seriously, on a 35-foot boat, that's 1 forward and 1 aft, and this is the 2-cabin configuration. It comes 3 cabin. We've got another one with 2 cabins, a real large, nice berth in the back, and then electric. As I say, we put all the electronics in. In other words, when it comes, it came with this and a 6-panel circuit board. We did all. But I kind of like this one, so I hung on to it. You got an anchor light, steam.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
As our guide pointed out, this is a 3-cabin version with a relatively low bed up front behind double doors that don't actually latch to anything in the middle. They rattle about when the boat's underway. The main saloon is divided by a compression post for the deck step mast with a very nice table with drop leaves, flanked by just over 6-foot settees that could be used as sea berths. But note the lack of overhead handholds or fiddles anywhere. Not sure what I'd hang on to navigating this space at a 15-degree heel. Also take a second to note the full headliner pan in this boat, making any through-bolted deck hardware inaccessible, also making leaks impossible to trace. The single wet head is a day head, which I'd imagine you could shower in if you were so inclined. The woodwork in here is all a light oak finished veneer plywood with nice hardware throughout. In the back, they've managed to fit 2 matching aft cabins with berths large enough for a single person or extremely intimate for 2. The berths do extend under the cockpit, but in a very tight way. Mind you, this is very rare to find a 3-cabin layout on a 35-foot boat. But mind you, this boat is with the bowsprit closer to 40 feet. We'll talk about that later. These cabins are tight but well lit and well ventilated. When wanting to take a peek at the engine, I lifted the very heavy companionway stairs, and it was not easy with no assist from gas springs, and once open, no prop rod of any kind to hold it up. This reminds me of my mom's Mustang that we had when I was a kid, that we used the snow brush to hold the hatch open so it wouldn't slam on your hands. For those of you in luckier climates, a snow brush is something that we keep in our cars to brush the snow off the windows. It looks like this, but it also doubles to hold things open. Once opened, we're treated to a well-used Yanmar in this boat. The default engine from the factory is a 15-horse model with options for 20 or even a 30, though everything is completely uninsulated and the engine room is tight, very tight. And even the biggest engine option, the 30 horse, might be a bit light for this 13,500 pound boat. That's fairly heavy for her size, and pushing her along against tidal currents or something might prove difficult with the smaller engines, and of course, very noisy without insulation. In the back of my mind, I was wondering what the heat of this room might do to the plywood veneers it's housed in over time. Hopefully nothing. Headed outside, the traveler on this boat is something I love. It's embedded in the cockpit sole, so you won't be tripping over it, and it's right in between the helm and the primary winches, so it'll always be right where you want it when you actually get out and sail this boat. Maybe this boat is aimed at the avid sailor. We get twin helms, which is industry standard on boats now, and even a fold-down transom for easy access to the water. The cockpit is huge and very modern, and the glasswork all looks and feels excellent. Having the traveler right here like this makes this boat much easier to single hand, as opposed to the traveler arrangement on the coach top, or even worse, like many new boats now, no traveler at all, replaced with a bridle system. I love this big and easy to use system, and single-handed, main sheet in one hand, steering with the other, it reminds me of my laser. And that makes me happy. I do note the wheel pilot, however. A wheel pilot on a 13,000 pound boat of almost 40 feet? This really should have been a hydraulic unit on the quadrant. Headed up, we note the huge and extremely helpful bulwarks. We don't see bulwarks very often anymore, and they're kind of reminiscent of old cruising boats. Though this isn't a cruising boat, it feels more racy, which means people hiking out on the high side, having to sit on that bulwark with the lower steel unsheathed lifelines digging into their PFDs, or worse, their bellies. Inboard jib track set well inboard in position for a smaller headsail, as this is a fractional rig. We're going to get the most of our power on this boat from the main, but these fractionals usually help us point very high very efficiently. The main is also controlled by a vang here and loads in and out of a stack pack with lazy jacks. Headed forward on the synthetic teak feels nice underfoot as we approach the ground tackle, a single roller on the sprit with an electric windlass that doesn't seem to have a manual option and no room to pull the chain by hand if you had to. Also note how low the furling drum is, bringing the tack on the headsail way down low. I read that when under sail on this boat, the jib always hits the bow pulpit and has to be skirted to one side or the other. For racing, that's good, more sail area, but the added wear on the sail is the trade-off. Which brings me to another point, a trade-off. Let's call this a 35-footer, because without the bowsprit, that's what it is. Though you'll need a 40-foot slip because of the bowsprit. It comes with a bow thruster and a reasonable cabin for a weekender, but it's set up like a race boat. That gorgeous traveler that I'm in love with, the inboard sheets and tracks. So it should be very fast, if not the most comfortable. But Yachting Monthly took her out and found that as the wind increased, the boat started to round up to the point where the single rudder blade wasn't enough to keep her straight anymore, and they had to reef the mainsail very early, reducing power. So a racy boat that doesn't do well at going fast. But it is set up as a very, very good single-handed boat I could totally run to its rating by myself most likely, and its hard-chined hull means it shouldn't heel so much that I actually need rail meat. But if I'm single-handing it everywhere, because that's what it's set up for, why do I need 3 cabins? This boat seems to fit a niche in the market for a 35-footer with ample interior and cockpit space to take friends out on the weekend, with a sail handling setup that appeals to the avid sailor who trims to the second decimal place on the knot meter. But she's a reef-early single rudder with an underpowered engine and an autopilot that seems like it may have been an afterthought. You might be asking at this point, sure, but what's all this cost? If she's significantly cheaper than the competition, she might make sense. We found this actual boat on Yacht World for just under $300,000. A year-old version over in Monaco is listed at half that, $143,000. There's one in Greece for $149,000. In the UK, $158,000. The price is all over the map, and depreciation looks steep. Assuming you could get one for somewhere north of $200,000, the competition is actually pretty strong. You've got the Do 437 that goes for almost 300,000. You've got the Hansa 38, which is closer to 400,000. And then you have the very near competition from the Beneteau 371 coming in at close to 300 grand. But it gives you everything this Viko gives you. A fold down platform, twin helm, the same layout inside, but the Beneteau gets a nav desk. But it's a known quantity, this Beneteau. It's got an owner's group, it's got repair facilities and authorized dealers. And every review found that it sailed very, very well, not having to reef early. It's nice to see a smaller company stepping into such a competitive market. This little Italian designed, Polish built 35/40 footer is a pretty boat. I like a lot of things about her. But she may struggle to find her place in a sea of French boats. Maybe if they painted her red. What do you think? Leave a comment and do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up. Both those things help YouTube find our videos and help this channel grow. And the bigger this channel gets, the better the videos are that we can make. I still have it in my mind to make my boss do some cool races and embarrassing things on camera, and your comments and likes are what's going to get us there.